Hi, everybody, and thanks for joining. Thank you, AJ, our moderator, and InterNACHI for allowing me to be a panelist here and to help bring this to you. My name's Vito, and I would really like to stress before we get started how grateful I am to InterNACHI, Lisa, Kayla, Miranda at the education department, and especially Nick. Without their support, I'd be sitting at home playing video games or doing something useless with my time. Instead, I'm talking to home inspectors and trying to bring value to the industry. Interesting thing, this all got born from InterNACHI's meeting a couple months ago in Weston, Florida. I found out about it the day before the class, and I'm like, oh my God, I want to go meet Nick. I ran down there, I had a little presentation, he took a look at it, and next thing you know, I'm putting on a class at InterNACHI House of Horrors, and InterNACHI's helping me bring it to everyone else. I can't describe to you how excited I am. I'm just a home inspector. I'm not a salesman. I'm not this professional presenter. So feel free to beat me up. I know I got it coming and it's okay. But I do believe that I've managed to put something together that will give you something you can use, before, at least something that you can use starting today that will help make your life a little better. At least that's the goal. I'll say this, yes, there's a course that we're having, and I've kind of condensed 8 hours worth of course material into a little bit under a 1 hour webinar. So there's no way I can teach the whole course. But like I said, with any luck and a little preparation, I can give you something you can use before it's all said and done. Let me start with this. Have you ever felt that despite doing everything by the book, your expertise was still questioned? How did that impact your approach to inspections? Today, we're going to cover some common challenges facing inspectors when it comes to 4-point inspections. We'll acknowledge the varying levels of due diligence and the impact that has on the industry, right? We're going to talk about ways to assert our authority. And by that, I mean establishing our credibility so that, what I really want is everyone who's watching today, when you're doing your inspections and after the fact, your opinion should be recognized as the only qualified one. That's what I want. I don't want people less qualified than us calling our opinions into question. We'll talk about the court of public opinion, winning in the court of public opinion and the court of law, and why one is just as important as the other for our business. And then we'll have Q&A. If you have a question, feel free to ask it. AJ will moderate. He'll decide whether it's a now or later question, but I won't leave until you're done. That's my commitment. And I should stress that each of these topics will address some common issues and solutions. This is relevant to both new inspectors and seasoned inspectors. And whether you're a single operator or represent a multi-inspector firm, it's all of use. In fact, let me put it like this. Think of a time when clear guidelines could have changed the outcome of your inspection. How did the lack of standards affect your decision-making process? Now, this quote by Hemingway can reflect our roles as inspectors, right? Just as trust is fundamental in a personal relationship, a marriage, family, etc., in our profession, we're constantly being trusted by our clients, and that's crucial. But it's not just the homeowner or the insured who may be our client, right? We also have to, we're also trusted by the real estate agent, the insurance agent, and the insurance carrier to do the job right. In my opinion, and it's an opinion, call it a qualified opinion, but the problem is all of those people may have different expectations because they all have a different vested interest in the outcome. This quote just kind of reminds me of the responsibility we carry, not just to inspect, but to build trust through every action we take, right? Um, every inspection and report we deliver contributes to either building or eroding that trust. How we handle the ambiguity in standards and the freedom our professional judgment we currently enjoy directly impacts our credibility. Considering the objectivity required in our field, how do you maintain the professional integrity and ensure your judgment is trusted, even when facing pressures from various stakeholders? A little bit about me. My name's Vito Bianca. I'm a home inspector here in the Tampa Bay area. I live in Hudson. I own a single operator LLC, and I contract out. I'm an inspector, an educator, and a consultant. My current licensing includes Florida Home Inspector, obviously certified master accreditation. I'm a GHP pest control operator, mold assessor, lead-based paint inspector, InterNACHI partner instructor and mentor, and a home inspector CE course provider and a real estate agent course sponsor. It was probably 20 years ago over that now when I began kind of my journey onto a professional career. It was commercial pest control. I learned the business. I was doing compliance audits for corporations like Walmart's and Sam's Clubs, and doing inspections and mosquito assessments for large resorts. And oh my God, my favorite were the organic facilities. And the only reason I bring that up is because I quickly learned the value of thorough inspections, professional reporting, anticipating needs, documenting and like perfecting the process, right? Because anytime somebody didn't like what I had to say, they would pick it apart. And I found myself going back to places for free, having to backtrack, basically having to eat the proverbial poop sandwich to make people happy. And I found that even when I did that, it still hurt me. Fast forward, fast forward to now, having been in this industry for a while and helping lead a multi-inspector team. The challenges of dealing with incomplete data and unnecessary return visits, and how important artful CYA tactics are for problem solving, is even magnified, because when we're dealing with home inspections or homeowners, I should say, and real estate agents, the challenges have a lot more feelings, a lot more personal stakes are involved. Here, emotions and whims often influence outcomes, requiring an even greater level of finesse and anticipation. If, does that make sense? If not, hit me up in the comments. AJ will let me know. But I can tell you that creating this course came from years of problem solving from leading a team of inspectors. I applied and expanded my earlier experiences to kind of stop the callbacks, increase our reputation, make things more efficient, and the success of these strategies in solving practical problems, boosting profitability. It inspired me to just put a name to it, and it's called Making 4 Points Work for You. It's built on the strategies I've proven in the field. It's tailored not just for, say, individual success, but for team dynamics, ensuring everybody can profit from it. It'll reduce wasted time. It'll provide you the framework you need to win any professional debates while still looking good and helpful and useful while doing it. And ultimately, it's here to help you make more money. Now, what are the common challenges that we can face, right? And I'm again, we're talking in the context of 4-point inspections. I'm not there. There's plenty of hugely beneficial topics on wind mitigations, particularly now in Florida with all the engineers companies running MySafe, and that's kind of winding down this phase. And home inspections, although there's some bleed over here, we're focused mainly on the 4-point right now. So what are some of the common challenges? And I think it stems from mainly expectations. Expectations are going to vary significantly from one vested interest to another, often influenced by their desire for a particular outcome. Now, this variance makes our responses, it doesn't make the inspection difficult, right? Because you know how to find a defect, you know when something's serious, right? But there's a lot of gray areas sometimes, and the forms are vague, and it leaves us open to questioning. And the problem is, by the time we're being questioned, we've already lost a little reputation, and that sometimes can lead to inconsistent results. I mentioned lack of clear guidelines standards. You'll notice I wrote in there by design, and I'll get into that a little bit later, but basically there's a reason why there's a lack of clear standards, and that's because the insurance carriers want to keep the most freedom to dictate costs, often at the expense of homeowners, and our reputation ultimately suffers for it, and here's why. Most of the time they have us being their quote unquote inspection police. So if there's any problems with insurance, it's the inspector's fault. And that's why we're all over the place. Our reports are across inspectors. There are going to be inspectors who are blind and nothing to see here, and they soft report, and there's a market for that. And then there are inspectors who believe who everything should be on a 4-point and it should replace the home inspection, and a whole range in between. But what happens is selective shopping, right? Agents will pick the ones they like depending on who they want, and there's no credibility on our side. We're not really necessary anymore. We're just a necessary evil. And my goal for all of us, and I've done that in part for our team, is to flip the script. We're not a necessary evil. We're needed. And when we're really good at it, we're really, really needed. And I want to kind of give you a piece of that too. Have you ever felt that the lack of clear standards and 4-point inspections left you maybe in a difficult position? Maybe you were pressured by the insurer or the versus the need of the homeowner. How does that affect, or how did that affect your decision-making process? How did it affect your reputation as an inspector? A lot of this is simple once you see it, and if that's so, great. Forgive me, but I've trained a lot of men and women as home inspectors, and raised up several certified masters into the field. And while they're probably way better than me technically, they always come back to me week after week, day after day, for the one thing that I thought was normal, but according to them, it seems to be like my primary gift, and that's narratives. How to frame a professional debate in the inspector's favor, right? So if this stuff sounds simple, once you've seen it, good. It means you've already intuited a lot of what I'm going to talk about. What I've done for most of this course is identify it, articulate it, define it, and spread it out in a workable format. It seems to be the one thing in a industry where we have so many resources, fantastic resources on technical data and how to inspect certain things and all that, but there's no real guidance on judgment or professionalism, and I want to fill that need. So we can look at these things as kind of 4 key pillars that define and support our day-to-day operations, but also our long-term success too. Integrity, obviously, that's got to be number one. Our primary responsibility is to objective and accurate reporting. Ensuring our practices and reports are consistently honest and impartial. That's number one. Uh, Number two, profit, obvious, right? But sometimes inspectors forget that the key word in the inspection business is business. I don't know about you guys, but I got into the business to make money. Freedom. What do I mean by that? Here's what I kind of fear. And you can hit me up in the chat if you disagree, and that's fine. If you know, but right now there's a push in Florida to force the state to mandate an inspection process, right? 4-point standards. But that's what I'm offering here, right? Partly, but many inspectors and ones that I've trained over the years, and even a few that didn't make it, were more interested in being told what to do in all cases rather than understanding that the real freedom is having our judgment respected and then being free to use that judgment as we see fit. When we can do that, we now have the autonomy to make our judgments based on our expertise without being pressured from people less qualified than us. And that leads me to credibility, establishing and maintaining a reputation that commands respect and trust from our clients and peers. If we can do that, we're successful all day. So let me ask you, think about this. How has the challenge of balancing integrity with profit influenced your approach to inspections? And what changes would you make to enhance both your credibility and operational freedom?
We do have a couple questions, Vito.
Sure.
Steve asks, you mentioned multi-inspector firms. How will this course assess multi-inspector firms?
That is a fantastic question. It's a little bit of a steal and a thunder, but in this course, I introduce a standards of practice and a decision-making framework that on the surface guides how we conduct the inspections and provides a framework for what does and does not belong as a 4-point deficiency. Without stealing too much from later in the course, what I can tell you is that it hugely benefits multi-inspector firms by providing consistency. If I have an inspector in Sarasota, I want his reports and his thresholds and his judgment to be similar to my guy in Ocala. I want all that territory covered so that agents trust the company over the individual contractors performing the inspections, if that makes sense. And that's what I've done. Great question, Stephen.
And then we have another question. I've got a couple more. This one is from Anonymous. If I know how to spot a defect, how am I to explain to a real estate agent that is not a 4-point defect?
That is a fantastic and nuanced question, and one that most inspectors who've been around a while have found ways to kind of solve on their own. What I've done with the course is to provide a decision-making framework that now all of a sudden can be used in any situation for or against. I've essentially created the narratives by which not only we use to legitimize our decision-making process, but robustly defend them later, if that answers the question. Another great question.
And then Ashton asks, what do the insurance agents think of these 4 points? What about carriers, the state, Fabi, etc.?
Ooh, this is why I love home inspectors in general, because we don't take any mess from anybody. In home inspectors, and I've taught classes and spoken here and there across a limited variety of people, and home inspectors are my toughest audience, and they're the ones I love most. Engineers are a close second. Hear that, inspectors? I love you, us, even more than engineers as far as toughness goes. But so the insurance agents that I've worked with and the brokers love it because they understand right up front what it is we're doing. I mentioned standards. We give them the standards, they become part of our agreements, etc. They know right up front what to expect, and they get standardization again across the whole team. Ditto for the real estate agents, but that's more of a tough sell because there's a lack of education there, and we'll get into that later. We I've never had a complaint. I've never had a complaint from a carrier. And I have even been involved with some citizens claims as an expert witness, having been called in as a third party to kind of offer my opinion on things. And we've never had a complaint. We've never been banned by a carrier. This was approved by the state of Florida for eight home inspector credit hours, and I've been using it in the field across all our inspectors for years. It works. Now, I don't know how to feel about Fabi because I'm not involved with them, right? I know some people who are, and they're great people, but there is if it's not a Fabi course, they're not going to support it. And for all I know, they're going to look to do their own thing, maybe even on the state level. I don't know. I know that there's a what do I want to say? There's an opinion floating around among the home inspection community that the recent ruling that that inspectors with 10 years in the field no longer need CEs might affect them in a negative way. I don't know that to be true or untrue, but I think this course, I want them to keep an open mind. If they're listening, if there's anyone in there, come take the class, come and see, reach out to me personally, because I would love to partner with everybody, not just InterNACHI, to make sure that the best of this course can be included to help Florida inspectors. Does that help? Were there any other questions, AJ?
I think you're good to go, Vito.
Thank you. Great questions. All right. Building on the core objectives, let's explore some specific steps we can take to achieve integrity, profit, freedom, and credibility in our work. Number one, defining the process, standards of practice. I'm a firm believer in that. Establishing clear standard operating procedures that guide our inspections ensures consistency and integrity. Gaining acceptance and using clearly defined agreements and transparent communication, even by linking them to the website, our websites, that'll set expectations and foster trust right up front. Flawless execution, and here's my real pain point. I read a lot of inspection reports. I read a lot of competitors' inspection reports. When I'm training on proofing our final report before sending it out, this is where the people I train grow to hate me now and love me later, because I'm real nitpicky on perfect reporting, context, etc. Delivering detailed, accurate reports that reinforce our reputation for quality and reliability is a must for long-term success. 5 years from now, they may not remember dealing with you, but they're going to form an opinion based on the quality of your report, and you won't even be there to defend yourself. It'll be done. And finally, having a bulletproof defense. I always joke with the guys I train that I want them bulletproof and then Teflon coated. They've got to be able to be technically right all the time, and then none of the raised eyebrows, stink eye, smear, or incorrect assumptions should stick to them. They should be bulletproof and silky smooth at all times. And how we achieve that is in part by utilizing a robust decision-making framework to defend our assessments and maintain our professional autonomy. So I want everyone here to look at this and reflect on these steps. Which area do you feel could most improve your practice? And how might enhancing that area change the way clients and peers view your work? Let me grab a sip of water and a vape, forgive me. Believe it or not, I run my mouth a lot, but this is the very first webinar I've done for any kind of real large audience. I'm a little nervous, so feel free to pick on me. I know I got it coming. Standards of practice. Standard operating procedures not only are going to guide our inspections, but also ensure clarity and transparency with our clients. I remember a long time ago, before I kind of defined all this and wrote it out and got it smooth. I was called out to do a condo inspection and a 4-point inspection on that condo. It was just an individual unit in a stacked building, and et cetera. And I couldn't understand why what should have taken me a total of maybe an hour and a half ended up taking 3 hours because I had to first get in contact with the real estate agent to find out how I was getting on the roof, then go down to the property manager's office and get the key to the roof and sign in and show my ID and all that stuff. Then go get my ladder to go get up on the roof, and then on the roof, I had to go identify which AC was by running back and forth and matching it. Couldn't find a permit because that was pulled up under a different address. Walking around the entire property to get pictures of all 4 sides of the building, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You get the point. Only at the end, after all was said and done, I come to find out after the fact that the insurance agent looked at the 4-point and said, "Oh, we need the roof permit. This inspector's a moron." It didn't matter if the agent liked me or liked my service or not. I got buried. I lost in that inspection simply because one person who I never had contact with made a snap judgment. Setting expectations. SOPs clearly outline what the 4-point inspection covers, including specific areas and components, while explicitly stating what it does not cover, like common areas not within the inspector's purview, like whose responsibility is what. It will also build credibility. Clients appreciate transparency, which enhances their sense of security and trust in our service. Knowing there's no hidden procedures. Agents, and I mentioned this earlier, often have no idea what a 4-point is. Think about that. For all the people who have opinions on our finished work, would it surprise you to know that most of them really don't understand what it is they have an opinion on? I teach classes on home inspections to real estate agents, and I ask this, what's the difference between a home inspection and a 4-point? Ain't nobody know. And we still get plenty of calls from people who think a 4-point inspection is a valid replacement for a home inspection. No, it isn't, and it never will be. So educating them and providing that up front so they know what they're getting into and know what to expect, what not to expect, is crucial. And I'll just reiterate why. Because all it takes after the fact is somebody who will never meet talking to somebody else that they had a bad experience with us and we're buried. There's our business. Not from one, but from 2 and anyone they tell. Have you ever had an agent undermine your credibility over something you had no control over? Can you envision how setting clear expectations up front might have prevented it.
We got a couple more questions, Vito. Randall asks, can you explain how professional reporting saves time in the long run?
Well, it does save time in the long run, and mainly on the back end, because we get a lot of there's a lot of people who read but don't read the reports. There's a lot of information in the reports that isn't necessarily spelled out and delivered. So there's a context that takes paying attention to read. So if they're not reading it and we're not spelling it out for them, that means they're picking up their phone, they're writing emails, sometimes weeks later, sometimes on the day of closing, and we have to drop everything to address it, or else we're the bad guy. So by providing all that information professionally, accurately, anticipating needs and spelling it out right up front, now all of a sudden, all those questions come from people who obviously didn't read. Our credibility is unassailable. Good question. Anything else?
Yep. And we have one more question from Joshua. He
Sure.
says, hello. I rehab mobile homes and manufactured homes and have found inspectors who conduct 4-point inspections on single family homes often don't have the specific skill sets I require. Do you suggest get my own 4-point for MH inspection certification? Did I
I
butcher
like the idea of more accreditations, more inspection knowledge. When we're dealing with 4-point inspections, though, it's really important to understand who's asking for it. And we're going to get to that in a minute. Each carrier has the freedom to decide what they want and don't want, and who can't do it. There are some carriers who will only accept 4-point inspections from GCs at a minimum, right? Most of the time it's home inspectors at a minimum, and I'm a proponent of that, by the way. But if you look at the citizens form, it is not it's not technically very heavy at all. And what's true for a single family home is true for a mobile home or manufactured home. And here's why. Because the 4-point isn't asking for perfection or a really invasive, intensive inspection. It doesn't require any really heavily technical knowledge as far as home inspectors are concerned. All right, it's technical for a lay person, but not for us. All it's asking is for some basic information so that they can determine insurability. So when we're doing these inspections, I stick to the form. And that's part of the standards and part of the guide work. So the question isn't, are you or should inspectors be more highly trained? That's a reaction to the problem as we've illustrated it. And what we need to do is define the standards and establish clear guidelines for how we already go about doing what we know how to do. Let me give you for an example, because this is really important and it speaks to kind of the heart, Joshua, of why this course to begin with. Agents think home inspectors are scary. Home inspectors think agents are less than honest. So agents double down and they find softer inspectors, and the inspectors in their turn double down and turn our noses up, and we get more technically proficient. And does any of that really serve the homeowners? Does either a home inspection or a 4-point inspection require us to go list a whole bunch of things that never have been an issue, will never be an issue, or are outdated as far as codes get updated? Is any of that relevant to the homeowner? Or do our standards of practice, Florida and InterNACHI, require us to find things that are significantly deficient, that really matter, that have an adverse negative impact on the value of the property, or a risk to the safety of its occupants? Just a thought. Just a thought. I think what that question reflects truly is more of a leapfrog in inspectors' standards of service rather than standards of practice. At the end of the day, an inspection is an inspection, right? So how do we build value? We build value by adding ancillary services, by creating need, maybe by including minor deficiencies in our home inspections. That in turn has led to home buyers wanting increased detail, and it's led to the agents getting more sensitive to what it is we're reporting overall, and this whole kind of snowballs, right? Um, what we need again are clear standards, more education from a what it is we do and why standpoint, not more education necessarily on just how many more things can I pad the report with. I hope that answers your question. At the end, I'm going to have an email address, and I'd like to talk to you more about this because I like that. Good stuff. Was there anything else, AJ?
Think you're good to go, Vito.
Thank you, sir. Gaining acceptance. Well-defined agreements are pivotal in setting the stage for smooth interactions with clients and other stakeholders. By securing agreement on the terms of our inspections up front, we can significantly reduce misunderstandings and disputes. This acceptance of terms provides a clear framework for what will be inspected, how it'll be done, and the boundaries of our responsibility. This is a link to InterNACHI's 4-point agreement. It's a great start. You can cut and paste, uh, use the relevant parts. You can add parts of it to your main agreement. You can use it as is, but it'll have a great impact. It'll prevent disputes. When clients agree and they sign beforehand, they're less likely to challenge your findings as they've pre-acknowledged the scope and the limits of the inspection. It'll enhance your professionalism. This whole process of presenting and agreeing to terms not only protects you, but also enhances your professionalism by demonstrating that you're thorough and transparent about your inspection process. Think of a time when a clear agreement could have prevented a misunderstanding or a dispute. How might that situation have been different if the client had fully understood and agreed to the terms of your inspection, or at least signed that they did? All right, this is a little bit off track, but not really, and it's funny, and I like it. So it's part of the presentation. Um, this one of my best friends growing up in early adulthood is an actuary for a major insurance company, and he schooled me in the most Fight Club way ever when he told me that there was an equation on how they set their policies, and it's real simple. It looks complicated. It's how they balance profit and risk efficiently. Basically, by balancing the number of policies with the level of risk they take on, they can decide which way will make them the most profits. For instance, if the carrier decides P by the way is profit, the actuary's job is to assign numbers to all those letters. But at the end of the day, if the carrier determines that they'll make more money by raising rates and getting rid of a bunch of people by being tougher on their restrictions, and then that's what they'll do. And if they decide that they'll make more money that year by relaxing standards, lowering prices, and taking on more policies, then that's what they do. It has nothing to do with homeowner or anything else. It's just pure profit. And now I have feelings about that because I'm an inspector, right? I want man, at the end of the day, I want everything. I want everything. I want to find everything. I can't sleep right if I don't see everything. But as a homeowner, I have different feelings of it. I understand insurance is necessary, especially since I borrowed money to buy my home. There should be some, there's that word again, standards on how on how these things are conducted, but they're not coming, not from the insurance companies. Have you ever felt caught between minimizing risk and maximizing your service's value? How might understanding this balance change the way you approach your inspections? I believe we're speaking to who was it? Randall had a question earlier. Can you recall a situation where a detailed and professional report directly influenced the outcome of a client interaction? How did that impact your credibility and client relationship moving forward? Professional reporting isn't just about documenting findings. It's crucial for saving time and enhancing our credibility. A well-structured report will save time. It streamlines both the process and the follow-up communications. It'll reduce your time spent taking callbacks for clarifications and resolving disputes. It's also a credibility builder, and we talked about that too. High-quality reports showcase our experience and diligence, fostering trust with clients and stakeholders, and it will increase our referrals and repeat business, and here's why. Nobody sees when you take open an electrical panel and you're looking at it, looking like an expert, nobody's going to know what's going through your mind. Nobody knows what you're seeing or not seeing, or all the ways you look to protect them. They can only guess your quality by how well you write your reports later. They're not going to remember. They won't even remember how you made them feel, probably. But that report, once it's published, it's forever. It speaks to who we are, often unfairly, and that's a shame. The decision-making framework. This is the bread and butter of the course. At the heart of it is this tool for helping us make decisions in the field. It's specifically designed to enhance clarity and the effectiveness of our 4-point inspections. It streamlines the decision-making process, providing fast and simple method to determine if an issue belongs on a 4-point report or not. That ensures efficiency without either oversimplifying or being too aggressive. And I want to touch on that for a minute more in a second. Consistency and reliability. The framework supports maintaining objectivity, which is especially beneficial in settings with multiple inspectors and will help ensure uniformity across all reports. I think we spoke to that earlier. Sam had I think his name was Sam, but it was a good question, and this solves that. And let me say this: freedom. What do I mean by that? You're not you're not locked into doing something cookie cutter. This literally empowers you with a tool that supports your professional judgment without imposing any restrictions, keeping your conclusions not only robust, but defensible. That's the key. It will support you if you like to be less aggressive, and it will support you if you like to be more aggressive. That's part of what I teach in the 8-hour portion with lots and lots of examples. I'm providing narratives. I want inspectors to remember, be bulletproof and Teflon coated no matter what. It's time to stop being judged by people who are less qualified than us. Imagine having a tool that aligns with your expertise, but simplifies not only your decision-making, but actually defends those decisions. How can a standardized yet flexible framework help transform your business? The takeaway here is that we're focusing on the transformational transformative, I guess is the word I want, transformative effects of applying what I'm teaching through this course. Transform vague standards into clear guidelines. Equip yourself with the knowledge to turn ambiguous instructions into actionable, clear steps that enhance your inspections. By adopting these standards, you'll boost your professional reputation. You'll make your reports and decisions better respected across the board. Why? Because you told them what you're going to do up front, you did it, and you were able to explain it quickly, smartly, and smoothly after the fact. And you're going to find an added benefit is when those agents call you and they sound like they start off like they're challenging you, you end up giving them the narratives that they need to go win their professional debate. You become their expert. That's a feeling, and it's a true story. I get 3 or 4 calls a day just from agents wanting me to give them narratives to go win their debates with other agents and insurance people and opposing parties, just to get just to hear how I word it. And that's what I want to do for you too. You'll reduce questions, callbacks, challenges. You'll streamline your process to minimize unnecessary follow-ups. You'll save time, and you'll reduce stress. And what do I mean by that? I know I know I know how we are. I know it took me a while before I recognized that I would get butterflies sometimes when people started asking questions like it was a challenge, right? And this was when I was newer, right? But and 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 now I'm able to give this to the inspectors that I train and mentor, and they don't have to wait years. They identify that quick now because I'm calling it out and I'm giving them the narratives, and they come off a lot smoother, trying to, save them some of the pain that I went through. I had to learn. I still do. I have to learn the hard way. I was raised that way. Unfortunately, I've got a mental block. I'm just stubborn. I want you to have happier clients. I want you to make more money. Satisfied clients lead to more referrals and repeat business. And remember, when I'm talking about clients, not just your home buyers, not just your home sellers, your real estate agents, your insurance agents. I want even those of you who are independent contractors. Maybe you work for, maybe you get jobs from a home inspector, right? They're your clients. I want you to make them happier, have more business, make more money. Remember that the tools and the strategies I'm discussing here are designed to give you more decisions, empower your decisions, to elevate the quality of your work and help you partner effectively with whoever you choose for ongoing success. It's about power. I want you to have the power. I don't want people, and I've said this over and over and over again through the course, I don't want people less qualified than us controlling our reputation and our profits, plain and simple. And this is one of the vehicles that I have applied that to, and it works. I hope you found the discussion useful, and I wish I had this huge, articulate, amazing Tony Robbins conclusion to give you, but I don't. It's just me. I'm a home inspector. What do you want? I'll end it with a thank you, and I'll open it up for questions. Thank you.
All right, that was awesome. Guys, I want to thank you for attending the webinar tonight. We do have a couple of questions. Before we get to that, though, just in case some of you guys have some questions you're writing up, I want to remind everyone to check out nachi.org/webinars and see what webinars we got coming up. We have another one coming up at the end of July with Natasha Gromiko. She's going to be explaining Inspector Website Builder and how to make your website work for you. Ben has a couple webinars coming up too, so make sure you're checking those out and register for them. Vito, thank you for your time, man. It was great. The couple questions that we have, Christian asked, and you might have answered this one already. Are there standards that we have to remember?
There are standards, yes, but they're it's nothing, that should surprise you. What the standards I wrote them to look and feel in a similar fashion to what InterNACHI standards were, so that it shouldn't be a shock, right? Um, the only thing that it's a condensed version of that, but it does cover, and here's what's important, it does cover things that we're not expected to do in a 4-point. So it is beneficial to have it provide that if you're using them, if you're going to use them, come to the class. I'll show you how to really use them and set expectations up front. Good question.
And then our last question, should be a good one. How is this course supposed to help me with the court of public opinion? What does that really
Ah,
mean?
I love it. I love it. All right. We got a couple minutes. Do you mind if we touch on that?
You're more than welcome to take up time, Vito.
All
You're
right.
you're not bound by the hour that we set. If the question's good enough, you feel free to answer as long as it needs.
Well, God bless you, AJ, and God bless whoever asked that question. All right. Here's the deal. This, like I said earlier on, our business often depends on the opinions of others, right? We can be technically right. We can win in a court of law, but are you ready to have that defense in in front of people or on Google without making yourself look like a jerk? There's no other way to put it. Recently, I don't know if any of you saw this, but recently a home inspector in Tampa um, got into it with a bunch of realtors. And it's a good thing he has a GC business because nobody will ever touch him again. And I'm not even saying he was 100% wrong, but the perception was there, right? How much more when they're talking about the quality of our work and they're judging our reports and they're having complaints about decisions we made when A, they don't really know what it is we're doing, and B, they have a vested interest in the outcome. Not everyone is like that, but even if they are, wouldn't it be great to turn that around from a challenge to an opportunity to educate and correct, right? Let's say it's I my insurance agent said this. You know what? I'm sorry to hear that, but please understand that these are the standards we use. This is what I encountered. Here is the narratives that I learned from Vito's class, making 4 points work for you, on why such and such is or is not a deficiency. And and by the way, is the insurance agent involved, aware of that? Are they just guessing? Are they just unhappy? Was there a competing inspector who came in and said something different? Were they working off of standards, or are they just offering an opinion? Because this class here, this was approved, and this is how we're following it. Number one. Number two, imagine having that conversation on Google. Somebody goes on Google and says, well, blah blah blah, he beat me up and buried all this stuff, and another inspector came in. You know what? Hey, I'm sorry to feel that way. Feel free to give us a call, but hey, you know what? Here's the standards. Here's what we followed. This stuff right here was specific to that form, and I'm really sorry it wasn't the answer you were looking for, but integrity and so on and so forth. I'm telling you, the court of public opinion is as important as the court of law. You can win and still lose, but if you can win every challenge, every question, every debate in a manner that's not only technically right, but establishes you as having the reasonable person standard, nobody's going to fight with you. And more than that, they're not going to go bash you behind your back, because that's where we really lose. And I hope that answers the question. It's a great question.
All right,
Thank you,
everybody.
everybody.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for attending. Thank you, Vito, for hosting. Guys, like I said, check out nachi.org. Check out the next webinar, and we'll catch you on the next one, guys.